Hello people of internet world, it's me PastSelf, and if you have been keeping up to date on my videos, which if you're a first time viewer, hi, you will have noticed that I have completed the video game RiME, which throughout the continuation of the series has bewildered me. I can't help feeling like this is a very bad thing. It has confused me. Why am I in Hoth? And it has just completely blown my mind. And I know that I left the video at a kind of what is going on kind of thing, and so I kind of wanted to do something like I did at the end of my Five Nights at Freddy's videos, which is kind of give an explanation of what I missed during the game, because I am not that smart and I miss a lot of things when I'm going through video games. I actually had to look some stuff up, and while I was kind of perusing articles and things, I found that a guy named Robert Purchase on Eurogamer.net actually had an interview with Raul Rubio Muneris. And I hope I pronounced that right, I probably didn't. But moving on from that, he was the founder, creative director, and writer for the video game RiME. And you can go ahead and check out the entire article. I'm going to put the links in the description below. I just wanted to tell you a little bit of what he said in that article that will maybe help you out to understand, because I know that it definitely helped me. If you're looking up this video, you know that the video game RiME is not all that it appears. At the beginning, it makes you believe that you're playing maybe a shipwrecked prince who finds a fox, and it's just kind of their adventure of seeing what the prince has lost. And it's not until the very end that you realize that you've not been playing the main character all this time, and that the character that you've been playing is actually dead, because the main character of the story is the boy's father. His name is actually Manu, and he is the father of the boy who was lost. And the 5 chapters of the game is the man working through the 5 stages of loss, and those are denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. And although I've heard that not everybody goes through these stages in order, in real life when they're working through their loss, it's put in these specific orders for clarity and just to kind of show what the father is going through. You start out in denial, where everything is beautiful and happy, and the creative director says that there's this childlike innocence in this place. Why not take the sun, roll it around, use it to solve the puzzles? It's a gorgeous place. And as I understand it, the guy himself actually lives in the Mediterranean, which is why everything has this kind of Mediterranean feel to it. There's this beautiful place, but none of it's real, and overall is the tower in the center that is arcing over everything. And even if you don't really want to be going near it, the game eventually guides you there, because it's an overlying issue of the entire thing. After denial comes anger. It's this savage, harsh environment where there's this creature who's coming after you. Throughout this level, there are 3 windmills. The little boy was drowned at sea, and the father, who, at least in the article, is personified by the island itself, the father is lashing out. The lightning and thunder that comes out of the windmill and strikes at the bird is personifying his anger. Every time that the anger strikes, it hits the bird and leaves him alone. All that is left are the shades that come up, and they're scared of him. They're withdrawing because he has no one else to blame but himself. So the first windmill sails. It's the boat that he blames. Second windmill, it's underwater. It's the sea. He blames the sea. Third is the boy himself. I never actually saw this in my playthrough, but apparently the boy there's a symbol of the boy on the windmill, and that is the third thing that the father blames. But when all things are exhausted, the father strikes down the bird in this reckless anger and hate and destroys the bird, destroys the eggs that are in the nest. It's reckless what he does in his anger, and at the end of it, there's nothing left to blame but himself. The third stage is the stage of bargaining, and this one is more of a swamp-like marsh where you run and you end up going into infinity, and it never gets you anywhere. And throughout this, you're assisted. You do what you can and hope that they will return the favor for you. But after you revive the sentinel in it, he and the fox, they start to develop maybe a relationship. They start walking off. They kind of leave you behind. And when you revive all the sentinels, they just kind of leave you out. They start walking, and they don't even give you a backwards glance as you go into the next area. And that area is depression. This area is personified by harsh gray clouds, lightning, and a constant drenching downpour of rain. Throughout the first part, the sentinels are there helping you to open the gates, and the last sentinel sacrifices himself so that you could get forward, so that you can advance. And nothing you can do can stop him from sacrificing himself to open that gate. And this is kind of an example of when you are in depression, those trying to help lift you up, who sacrifice so much for you, and yet sometimes you can't even see it. And it's a hard thing, but it's something that happens when you're in despair. Throughout these levels, there have been the shades. When I finished the game, I kind of had this thought that maybe the shades were other people. That was my running hypothesis, because throughout the 3 stages that they appear at anger, they're afraid of you because, you can hurt them, you can lash out at them in your anger. But when it comes to bargaining, they're draining you. You're in this grief, and you want something from them, but all it seems is that they take and they take from you, and you don't get anything back from it. But in depression, they're just there. You don't see much of them. They're just shades all around. They're not hindering, they're not helping, they're just there. The creator had a bit of a different idea of them. He thought of them as memories. And throughout the game, at the beginning, at anger, since you are a memory, you are a shade. And in the beginning, at anger, they kind of shy away from you because they're so different from you. You're not one of them. They're scared of you. But when it comes to bargaining, they're draining you, perhaps because they kind of hope to be the kind of shade that you are. They're trying to pull you down to be the shade level that they are. But in depression, they think that they know that you are one of them at this point. They don't bother you. They just mill around. You're one of them. It doesn't matter anymore. Take whichever idea the way that you will. I personally go with the creator because he probably knows what he wants done with this, and he's the creative director and everything, so I would go with what he says. During depression, after you lose the sentinels, you lose the fox, whose name is Nana. Another thing that I didn't know, I thought that it was Yippee Skip, and I thought that it was a boy. I'm sorry. I thought that it was going to be a cute game. I wanted it to be a cute game, so I called it Yippee Skip. Okay. Anyway, the fox personifies hope. It also personifies the boy's mother, and I've actually heard that if you find all the white shades in the game, then you unlock a special ending which shows the man embracing both boy and past wife at the same time at the end of the game. I watched something to do that, and I can't show you footage of it, but apparently that's a thing. And it's saying that in depression, hope is let go. Hope dies there. And apparently he was given a lot of grief during this because they're saying, why? Why did you kill the fox? And during this, he's saying, fox is a creation. The fox was created to help you toward the realization that you are a shade, and help you during your journey. And now that the journey is almost at an end, it can be let go. That's what he said during it. But anyway, you lose the fox, and you go into another, and you become your full awareness that you are dead, you are a shade, you are a memory. Apparently not all hope is lost with the end of the fox, because in the next room there are these chains, and you need to break them. Once the chains are broken, this light illuminates the place, and you become an enlightened shade. And he describes it as a shade who realizes that he's going to stick around. He's not going to let go and become one of the dark, vague memories that you see around there. You are going to be what you're going to be. With the breaking of the chains, it really brings back life to the area. It's not just, breaking chains, It brings back life. It brings back light to this place. And it also brings you into the next area where everything is turned upside down as we travel along the road to acceptance. And a lot of people get the message in this next part wrong, because of the dive into the starry chasm. Because a lot of people were thinking, the right idea is to kill yourself. And that is really not what the creator had in mind. What he was saying in this was that it's an ascension toward hope. In the area, you realize that the tower has flipped itself. And when you thought you were going up, you thought that you were actually going down. And once you hit depression, that was the lowest point. And anywhere you could go apart from that was up. So the chasm isn't a pit. It's a hole into the universe. And when you drop into that, the boy is ascending, and the man is coming into the realization and the fifth stage. And that is acceptance. In acceptance, he accepts the passing of his son, and he takes the cloak in his hand and he lets it go. He has realized what has happened. He has battled through everything that he has to battle through. All the grief has not passed, and it probably will never pass. But he knows that the first step is letting go. And that's what you do at the end of the game in acceptance. All the way through, there have been these different visions as you travel to each area. And it starts with denial. In denial, there's the boy in the boat that's just kind of in the middle of a wasteland. It just kind of crashed there. You're away from the boat, you're fine, but there's a red strip of fabric. As it goes further on, you see that you're on the boat in a storm and that there's a man there. And as you reach acceptance, you realize that it wasn't a man over there at all. The man was where you were standing, and you were the one in red. You were the one who fell overboard. You were the one who died. And at the end, when you accept that, and when the man accepts that, that's when he can finally move forward. My interpretation of this was a little bit different than what Raul said, because the way that he thought of it was more like I think, and this was like my first thought, was that the story going on was basically the story that Manu was telling himself. It was him kind of telling a story, telling the story of what he kind of feels is happening and what he sees happening through all this. Kind of. I'm not really sure exactly how it fits together, but there was an alternate ending that almost was in production where the man was in fact telling the story to a boy in the bed, and that's why everything's all a kind of child book, a child story like, and it's not until you reach the end of the game that you see that the boy's bed is empty. That was going to be like the original twist, I guess, in the game, and that would explain kind of it being a story that he's telling himself. But the way that I was thinking it when I finished up the game, when I had a little time to process my thoughts, was that it's the story of the boy's ghost traveling through what the father was traveling through, trying to get to the man through everything that the father was putting up in each chapter against him, so that you can touch him and give him acceptance. And the reason that I think this is because at the very end of the depression chapter, there's a man sitting there, and the boy goes out of his room, goes into the room where the father is sitting carved in stone, and he touches him. And then he needs to ascend through nothingness. He needs to go back up out of the place where he has dug this hole for himself, and then the father can experience acceptance. So that's my take on it. Take it or leave it. And and as kind of a parting words for it, I'm going to read the words that the creator himself had said about his interpretation. He says, "The message for me is no matter what, the last thing you lose is hope, and even then you will, one way or another, reach the end. So it's okay." So I hope that this helped clear up a little bit of the stuff that was left over at the end of RiME. If you haven't seen my playthrough or haven't seen any of my other videos, make sure to check out my channel. I would love to see you there. And I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for checking out this video. And I actually have a new logo, a new intro, so make sure to check that out when it flashes over the screen. And till we meet again, I'll see you around the internet. Bye!